Assalamu alaikum. If you love Islamic history, motivation, and true guidance, then make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. The great hero of the Islamic world and the first young Muslim commander to conquer India, Muhammad bin Qasim, was born in 75 Hijri in the city of Taif. His father's name was Qasim, and his grandfather's name was Muhammad. When he grew up, the caliph of the Muslims at that time was Walid bin Abdul al-Malik, and the capital of the Islamic Empire was the city of Damascus. By then, the Muslims had already conquered Persia. Since the land of Sindh was near Persia and shared a border with the Persian Empire, during the time of ongoing battles between the Muslims and Persians, many troublemakers from Persia would seek refuge in Sindh. Sindh had become a center for such elements. Raja Dahir, the ruler of Sindh, was also trying to preserve the remnants of the Persian Empire in any way possible. In fact, during the various confrontations between the Muslims and Persians, Raja Dahir provided military assistance to the Persians. However, when the Muslim forces eventually gained control over the Persian Empire, Raja Dahir annexed some of the border provinces of Persia into his own territory. The Persians, in turn, handed over the provinces of Kerman and Baluchistan to Raja Dahir, so that they would not fall into Muslim hands.
Particular incident compelled the Muslims to launch an attack on his kingdom. The details of this incident are as follows. The victories of Walid bin Abdul Malik had established the dominance and awe of the Islamic government far and wide. The rulers and kings of that time wished to forge friendly relations with Caliph Walid. The king of Sarandip, modern-day Sri Lanka, also desired to befriend the great Muslim Caliph Walid bin Abdul Malik. Therefore, he sent a fleet of 8 ships from his island, loaded with various kinds of pearls, jewels, and other precious gifts, as a gesture of goodwill to Caliph Walid and to Hajjaj bin Yusuf, the governor of Iraq and uncle of Muhammad bin Qasim. Among the goods there were also some Muslim men and women on board, some of whom were on their way to visit the Kaaba in Mecca, while others were traveling to Damascus. While the fleet was sailing through the sea, violent storms drove the ships off course, and they eventually reached the shores of Daybal. At that time, Daybal was a prominent port city in Sindh and under the control of Raja Dahir. A governor and military commander ruled the city on behalf of Raja Dahir. There, a group of pirates, known as the Nakamra, who were residents of Daybal, attacked the fleet. They looted the ships, seized the treasure and valuables, and captured the men and women on board.
Some historians also mention that the people who attacked the Muslim ships and looted them were members of the Mud tribe. Historians speculate that the Muds might have been a sub-tribe of the Nakamra clan, as the city of Daybal was considered the center of the Mud people. It is also said that apart from Daybal's port, the Muds referred to all the coastal tribes of Sindh and Kathiawar whose livelihood depended on piracy and looting. Before Muhammad bin Qasim's invasion of Sindh, the region of Makran was already under Muslim control. It is recorded that Ibn Umar, the Muslim governor of Makran, first launched an attack on the northern hilly regions and achieved victory. Later, he fought the Muds in Makran and was martyred during that campaign. The Mud tribe was spread across vast coastal areas. In fact, even after the Umayyad Caliphate ended and the Abbasid Caliphate began, the Muds were still a significant force. The Abbasid governor of Sindh, Musa bin Imran, after conquering the city of Kandabil, also launched a campaign against the Muds, subduing them and bringing them under his control. In any case, when the Mud pirates of Daybal attacked the ships, the men representing the king of Sarandip, Sri Lanka, and the Muslim men and women on board pleaded with the pirates. They explained that the cargo was a gift for the Muslim caliph and begged to be allowed to continue their journey. However, the pirates paid no attention to their pleas. They captured everyone and mockingly said, "If you have someone to help you or come to your rescue, then have him come and ransom you himself." It is said that during this incident, one Muslim woman, crying and screaming in despair, called out in a loud voice after invoking her Lord Almighty, Ya Hajjaj, Ya Hajjaj, aghithni. O Hajjaj, help me. Some historians mention that this woman belonged to the Arab tribe of Banu Aziz, while others suggest she may have been from the tribe of Banu Barbura. In any case, a few passengers who were somehow able to escape from the pirates and save their lives eventually made their way to Iraq. At that time, Hajjaj bin Yusuf was the governor of Iraq under the caliphate of Walid bin Abdul Malik. The escapees reached Iraq and delivered the heart-wrenching news to Hajjaj about the looting of the ships and the captivity of Muslim passengers. They described how, while the pirates were seizing the Muslims and oppressing the women, one woman cried out in desperation, Ya Hajjaj, aghithni. O Hajjaj, come to my aid. It is said that upon hearing these words, Hajjaj bin Yusuf's face turned red with fury. His eyes flamed with rage, and in a thunderous voice, almost shouting, he declared, Labbaik! Labbaik! I am here. I am present. Some accounts say that upon hearing the tragic details, Hajjaj bin Yusuf was deeply moved and even became emotional, holding back tears. As soon as he received this news, Hajjaj bin Yusuf sprang into action without delay.
Hajjaj bin Yusuf immediately wrote a letter to the ruler of Sindh, Raja Dahir. He sent this letter through Muhammad bin Harun, the governor of Makran. He also wrote a separate letter addressed to Muhammad bin Harun, instructing him to ensure that the letter meant for Raja Dahir be delivered directly to him. Hajjaj strictly instructed his governor, Muhammad bin Harun, to assign a trustworthy officer to accompany the official messenger who would deliver the letter to Raja Dahir. The purpose of the letter was to demand the release of the gift sent by the king of Lanka for the caliph, and also the release of widows, orphans, pilgrims, and other Muslim men and women who had been imprisoned at the port of Debal. The letter written by Hajjaj bin Yusuf to Raja Dahir went as follows.
Return with honor the people from our land who have been detained in your territory, and pay compensation for the losses and damages to their goods and belongings. Hajjaj personally signed the letter. It was written in a rational, respectful, and diplomatic tone, deserving of a similarly respectful response. However, Raja Dahir responded with utter indifference and dismissiveness. He said, This matter is not my responsibility. It concerns sea pirates and looters with whom I have no connection or involvement.
Raja Dahir's irrational response and deceitful attitude can also be judged by the fact that later, when Muhammad bin Qasim invaded India and eventually captured the city of Alor, the passengers of those ships were found imprisoned in the city's official jail. Historians argue that if those passengers were truly captured by sea pirates, then they could not have been discovered in a government prison, unless Raja Dahir's earlier claim was completely false and misleading. When Raja Dahir's reply reached Hajjaj bin Yusuf, the Muslim governor of Iraq, he immediately sent a formal petition to the Caliph Walid bin Abdul Malik, detailing all the events and requesting permission to launch a military campaign against Sindh. However, Caliph Walid initially refused permission. A few days later, Hajjaj wrote again to the Caliph stating, I believe the commander of the faithful may have declined due to the heavy expenses involved in such a campaign. But I pledge that whatever amount is spent on this expedition, I will repay double that amount to the royal treasury. When this petition reached Caliph Walid in Damascus, he reviewed the entire situation and finally granted Hajjaj bin Yusuf permission to attack Sindh. With the Caliph's approval, Hajjaj sent one of his generals, Abdullah bin Nahban, with an army to launch an attack on Debal. Abdullah bin Nahban reached Debal and initiated the assault with great courage and valor.
Fighting with great bravery and courage, Abdullah bin Nahban was martyred in battle. Some believe that the mausoleum of Abdullah Shah in Clifton, Karachi, is actually the resting place of Abdullah bin Nahban, the general sent by Hajjaj to conquer Sindh and lead the assault on Debal. After the failed attempt and the martyrdom of Abdullah bin Nahban, Hajjaj bin Yusuf appointed another commander, Budail, to take charge of the mission. At that time, Budail was residing in the city of Oman. Hajjaj issued strict orders for him to immediately march toward Dibal and launch an attack. Budail had only 300 armed soldiers with him at the time. Simultaneously, Hajjaj sent a command to Muhammad bin Harun, the Muslim governor of Makran, instructing him to provide Budail with an additional army of 3,000 soldiers. With this combined force, Budail set out from Makran toward Dibal. Meanwhile, the people of Dibal were already informed that another Muslim commander was advancing with an army of 3,000 soldiers to attack the city. They immediately sent word to Raja Dahir to inform him of the approaching Muslim force. In response, Raja Dahir quickly dispatched his son, Baisena, with an army of 4,000 cavalrymen to counter the advance.
Raja Dahir sent his son Baisena with an army of 4,000 cavalrymen to confront the Muslims. These soldiers were mounted on camels, horses, and elephants. Thus, Raja Dahir's force set out toward Dibal. Meanwhile, Budail had already reached Dibal with his army before Baisena's arrival. The local forces of Dibal came out of the city to confront him, but Budail inflicted a crushing defeat on them, forcing them to retreat and take shelter within the city. Soon after, Raja Dahir's son Baisena arrived with his army of 4,000. A fierce battle broke out between the Muslim forces and the forces of Raja Dahir in the outskirts of Dibal. It is said that the battle raged from morning until evening. Both sides fought with great bravery and courage, and the Muslims were on the verge of victory. But suddenly, Budail's horse was startled upon seeing the forces of Raja Dahir and threw him off. As Budail fell from his horse, the enemy soldiers quickly surrounded him and captured and martyred him. With the martyrdom of their commander, the Muslim army was forced to retreat, and once again the Muslims failed in their attempt to conquer Dibal. Historians write that when Hajjaj bin Yusuf received the news of Budail's martyrdom near Dibal, he was deeply grieved and shocked. His sorrow was so profound that he requested the muezzin, the caller to prayer, to remind him of Budail's name after every azan so that he could pray for him daily until the day he would avenge his death.
It is said that later, a man who had participated in the battle alongside Budail came to the court of Hajjaj bin Yusuf. He narrated the events of Budail's bravery and courage, describing everything he had witnessed with his own eyes. He told Hajjaj that he had been present when Budail was martyred and when the Muslim army suffered defeat. After listening to the entire account, Hajjaj expressed immense anger and displeasure, and addressing the man, he said, "If you were truly a brave man, you would have died alongside Budail and never returned alive." He then ordered that the man be punished. Following Budail's martyrdom, the people of the city of Nehrun, modern-day Hyderabad, were struck with fear. They gathered and consulted one another, saying, "Surely the Arabs will seek revenge for their martyred commanders, and we will likely be their first target. If we submit to them and pledge our allegiance before they launch a fierce attack, our city might be saved from destruction." This city, Nehrun, as historians note, is the present-day Hyderabad. Its original name was Nehrun, and it was founded between the period of prophethood and the Hijrah. After the Mughal conquest, the city became known as Hyderabad because a ruler named Hyder Ali Arghun had it rebuilt. Having made their decision, the people of Nehrun reached out to Hajjaj bin Yusuf to pledge their allegiance and avoid conflict.
They decided to contact Hajjaj bin Yusuf. At that time, the ruler of the city of Nehrun, present-day Hyderabad, was a man named Sundar, a follower of Buddhism and a subordinate of Raja Dahir. Without informing Raja Dahir, Sundar secretly sent a delegation on his behalf to Hajjaj bin Yusuf. In the message, he expressed the desire of the people of Nehrun to live under Muslim authority peacefully. Sundar also formally submitted to Muslim rule and requested peace. Hajjaj bin Yusuf accepted Sundar's appeal. In his reply, Hajjaj offered words of reassurance and goodwill.
He also encouraged Sundar to assist the Muslims in locating and freeing Muslim prisoners. In this way, before the Muslims launched a major assault, the ruler of Nehraun, Sundar, had already established contact with Hajjaj bin Yusuf, accepted his authority, and secured peace and protection for himself and his people. After the martyrdom of the Muslim commander Budail and the second failed attempt to conquer Sindh, Hajjaj bin Yusuf began preparations for a new military campaign. This time, he appointed his nephew, Imaduddin Muhammad bin Qasim, as the commander of the army.
Describing the appearance of Muhammad bin Qasim, historians write that he was a handsome young man. He had large eyes, a broad forehead, rounded arms, and strong, well-built shoulders. His complexion was rosy, and his voice carried a commanding presence. Allah, the Almighty, had blessed him with a heart and spirit of steel. By divine grace, Muhammad bin Qasim was gifted with high intellect, firm determination, and exceptional bravery. He was known for being extremely kind-hearted, gentle in nature, soft-spoken, and pleasant in conversation. He was cheerful and always spoke lovingly and respectfully, whether to the young or the old. In his army, there were many men older than him and under his command, yet he treated all of them with great respect and dignity. In any case, Hajjaj bin Yusuf chose Muhammad bin Qasim to lead the campaign in Sindh, believing him to be the most suitable commander for the military expedition to be sent towards Sindh.
Muhammad bin Qasim was appointed as commander because Hajjaj bin Yusuf believed he was best suited to lead the army heading towards Sindh. His kunya, or honorific title, was Abu Bahar, as he had a deep fondness for the flower Bahar al-Barg, and thus he became well known by that name. When Hajjaj bin Yusuf was appointed governor of Iraq, he appointed Qasim, Muhammad bin Qasim's father, as the governor of the city of Bahrain. Because of this, Muhammad bin Qasim was raised and educated in Bahrain. While Muhammad bin Qasim was still a child, his father passed away. By the age of 5, signs of intelligence, wisdom, and bravery had already begun to show in him. Due to financial hardship, his family could not provide him with a formal or higher education. Therefore, Muhammad bin Qasim traveled to Damascus and joined the military. After joining the army, he served under the most capable and experienced commanders, gaining extensive military training and battlefield experience. By the age of 14, Muhammad bin Qasim, owing to his extraordinary abilities, had already earned a high rank within the army. Eventually, in 90 AH, Hajjaj bin Yusuf appointed him to lead a campaign against the rebellion of the Kurds in Iran. At that time, Muhammad bin Qasim was only 15 years old. He was placed in command of the army assigned to crush the Kurdish revolt. He marched toward Iran, clashed with the Kurds, and defeated them decisively, putting an end to their uprising. After that, Muhammad bin Qasim continued advancing through Iran with his forces. He conquered the city of Istakhar and then moved on, capturing other regions until he reached and took the city of Jurjan.
Muhammad bin Qasim continued advancing toward the city of Jurjan, and during this time, he laid the foundation of the city of Shiraz based on a specific strategic plan. Before that, Shiraz had only been used as a temporary military encampment. After this, Hajjaj bin Yusuf appointed Muhammad bin Qasim as the governor of Shiraz. In his role as governor, he ruled with excellence, justice, and fairness. From his monthly salary, he would save a considerable amount and spend it on the propagation of Islam. In his free time, he used to deliver speeches on Islamic teachings which the public listened to with great interest and admiration. The sincerity and strong faith of Muhammad bin Qasim was so remarkable that even the renowned scholars of that era praised his character and religious devotion. At the time when Hajjaj bin Yusuf had firmly decided to launch another attack on Sindh, Muhammad bin Qasim was stationed in Iran. During his stay there, Hajjaj had ordered him
to move with his army and capture the city of Rai. As Muhammad bin Qasim was advancing toward Rai, he was met on the way by a messenger from Hajjaj bin Yusuf who handed him a letter. In that letter, Hajjaj instructed him to stop your advance toward Rai and prepare to launch a campaign against Sindh. Return to Shiraz and wait there for the army I will send to join you. Once you receive the reinforcements, march toward Sindh and begin the invasion.
Hajjaj bin Yusuf prepared a powerful army of 6,000 well-trained soldiers for the expedition. To support their journey, he also arranged for thousands of camels, 6,000 for riding, and many more for carrying supplies and equipment. Every necessity of the army was taken care of in meticulous detail, even down to the needles and thread for each soldier. He also made extraordinary arrangements for food and sustenance. Since vinegar was highly favored by Arabs, Hajjaj soaked cotton in vinegar, dried it in the shade, and then packed it into bales that were shipped on boats. The plan was that, when needed, the soldiers could moisten the cotton and extract the vinegar, ensuring no one would suffer due to its absence. Along with general supplies, Hajjaj provided Muhammad bin Qasim with a sum of 30,000 dinars. In addition to sending the army overland, he dispatched ships via the sea route, carrying supplies and some soldiers. These ships were equipped with large catapults, manjaniks, which could launch stones at enemy forts and walls, giving the Muslims a significant strategic advantage during sieges. Eventually, the army prepared by Hajjaj reached Shiraz, and from there, Muhammad bin Qasim began his march toward his target. When Muhammad bin Qasim arrived in Makran with his army, he was warmly received by the Muslim governor of Makran, Muhammad Harun. Muhammad bin Qasim stayed in Makran for a few days, organizing and preparing for the final leg of the journey.
From there, Muhammad bin Qasim set out toward Armanbela. Although Muhammad bin Harun, the governor of Makran, was ill at the time, he insisted on participating in the campaign. Despite his illness, Muhammad bin Qasim allowed him to accompany the expedition. Once they crossed the border, Muhammad bin Qasim launched an attack on Panjgur, capturing it successfully. After the conquest, he stayed there with his army for a few days. After departing from Panjgur, he laid siege to Armabil. He conquered the city and remained there for a while to allow his soldiers to rest and recover. It was during this stop that Muhammad bin Harun, who had been ill, passed away, and he was buried in that very land.